Hi everyone, Steve Perryman again on the Steve Perryman podcast, ably assisted by Tom. Welcome, Tom and Howard. It's been a fair amount of time since the last podcast involving Gary Stevens, and what a good reaction, by the way, there was to that. Didn't we enjoy having him, chaps?
He was fabulous.
Definitely.
Nice man. Very nice man's not a good thing to say about someone, is it? It sort of feels like you haven't got anything else to say about him. But anyway, he's a nice man.
On top of everything else, yes.
And well versed and knows his stuff and living his life abroad. And I did hear that, normally single men go out to Thailand to in search of women. But I think on the strength of that podcast, there's single women going out there in search of Gary.
He looks like he looks after himself, doesn't he?
Doesn't he look after himself and looks, again, enjoying life? So well done to him. So there is life after Tottenham and English football after all, isn't there? So what have you been up to, chaps? Howard, what have you've been to a special birthday party today, I hear?
I have indeed. My granddaughter's 7th birthday.
That's you have two grandchildren and she's the youngest of the two.
She's the youngest. She was born 7 years ago today in
Brilliant.
Salt Lake City via a surrogate, which is a whole story on its own.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. She was born with a passport.
She was born with a passport, it's true.
Is she Spurs yet, Howard?
Of course. How dare you even ask such a question?
I didn't doubt it for a second.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting because, we've got a boy and a girl there, and we're supposed to ignore the genders at this stage and let them go their own way. But she is, from the second she was born, she's into her dresses and all of that stuff. And the second he was born, he put a Spurs shirt on. So,
wow, very macho. Very macho. And Tom, what about yourself? What you've been doing? Have you had a day in London?
Yeah, I've been in the office today. My work is just off Brick Lane, kind of near Spitalfields. Popped out to meet my brother earlier for a quick pint, and I must have passed you on the way back to heading back west afterwards, Steve.
Yeah, well, I've been to a nice luncheon today, close to Monument Station. That's close to you, Tom, isn't it?
Yeah.
And with a Spurs theme, it was a luncheon attended by mostly Spurs supporters, but I don't think you had to be one. And the guests were me, Gary Mabsy, and Big Chiv, Martin Chivers, and hosted by Paul Coit. So it was a particularly nice lunch, and good to meet Spurs supporters in any situation, but especially on a Friday lunchtime when the sort of working week is over and you've got Bank Holiday Monday to look forward to, and especially a Spurs result to look forward to at the weekend. So everyone had a nice time. Really interesting to hear about Mabsy's sort of medical situation at the moment and what he's been through, and yet apparently there was a blockage of about 95% in his neck, and yet Mabsy says he felt the same after, once it had been done, as he had done before the operation. But anyway, it must have done him some good to get that cleared. And Chiv actually told an interesting story about his injury, Howard, that you would particularly know about, that he got playing for Spurs not so long after he joined. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I think there's a couple. I think it's the famous story that when he first joined, Bill Nick said to him he was doing really badly, and Bill Nick put him in the reserves and said to him, "Watch Jeff Hurst. That's what I want."
Yeah, I remember that story. But this injury that he got, where his kneecap was up by his groin, and he just, in training, it just fell awkward or something happened, And he was out in the end. He was out 11 months with it.
Yeah.
And struggled a bit with his confidence. And all of a sudden it changed in one game. And he was saying how kind the Spurs supporters were to him in the period where he'd lost his confidence, because they knew the depth of the injury. And I think he scored 2 goals against Gordon Banks for Stoke. And it just went from there. And then, at some point I came into play. And I remember the 2 years where Chiv had, where it, basically when he got clear from the halfway line, you almost didn't have to back it up, because you were so confident that he was going to score. So it just shows you that how an injury can affect the flow of your game and of your development. But then eventually you get back on it. And
Steve, we should mention at this stage maybe Oliver Skipp, who's
yes. Now what's his injury, by the way?
Well, he's gone off. He's had surgery in America this week, and he's out for the rest of the season.
Wow.
But should be due back at the beginning of next season. But he's someone who has shown a lot of a lot of potential in that
Very
team.
much so.
Both under Nuno and under Conte. Conte obviously clearly liked him as well. A real shame for him that he got injured at that point, and we thought he was only going to be out for a short while, but it's actually turned out to be a big injury. So hopefully he comes back with the same kind of reception from his teammates.
Isn't that how he ended last season? Isn't that how he ended last season? I know he was with Norwich, but
yes, you're right. Actually,
the last couple of games?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Did he?
Yeah.
And he's just signed a new contract.
Yeah,
he has.
So that shows a lot of faith in him from the club, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's nailed on a Conte player who likes consistency of effort. And, he's no slouch on the ball by any means. And you know what you're getting out of that type of player. And I think we all have agreed in the past that he's a potential captain of the club going down the line. Okay, let's not sort of force it at the moment, but he looks like he's made of that sort of stuff. So,
and he's come through the ranks.
And that's
what we love to see.
Again, I think that's vitally important, that the captain of the club knows the feeling of the supporters, and you get that feeling when you are growing up in the younger teams and you're watching games and you're listening to the crowd and you're the oohs and the ahs and that's not good enough. You having brought up through the ranks, you certainly, I certainly knew how they felt. And it was my job as captain to pass their feeling onto our players. And it's not like I'm saying to our players, you lot are crap. I'm doing all right, but you lot are crap. We are crap on this particular first half or whatever. And but it takes someone to sort of realize where the crowd sit with this current performance. And okay, the crowd is not always right about everything, of course not, but you get the general feeling of they think we should attack more, or they're feeling nervous every time we can see the corner. They think we're going to concede. So yeah, we had the disappointment of 2 games, Brighton and Brentford. I haven't been so disappointed for such a long time after Brighton. And that was all about the sort of expectancy level that had been built up by us all in our own head, really, with a great run of results, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So do you like the pair of you? Do you like the Brighton manager? I particularly do. I think he's a clever guy.
Yeah, he seems an intelligent guy. He seems to know what he's doing and what he wants from the players.
Yeah.
And I think if Brighton had a striker at all last year, they'd have been much higher on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He certainly worked our game out, didn't he?
He did, big time.
Yep.
He did. And I think that Brighton game was, it was a sunny Saturday afternoon. we were kind of going along just after multiple, big wins in the last few games. Turned up at Tottenham on a Saturday, sun shining, and you're just kind of like ready to kind of like get that result and crack on in the top four. And he did a number on us. They we didn't look particularly up for it, but whether there's any kind of complacency about the way we approached the game, who knows? But they played very well. We never really like scoring. I don't think we had a shot on target, and it was it came out of nowhere because it was really starting to have. We were really approaching that game with some good vibes, and afterwards it was just, God, that's gone.
Yeah, and interestingly, one of the few chances we had. Howard, do you remember the chance we had near the end of the game? Long ball, a fighting ball for Harry, a fight ball in the box, and he gets a half a header on it. I don't think he sort of made it go down to our player, and Bergwijn sort of miscued the shot, didn't he? Past the post. But when you spent all game trying to play through a team that is sort of not working, you don't want panic to set in. Of course not. You don't want to overdo the long stuff. But now and again, 2 of the 4 goals at Aston Villa were off the back of a long ball, weren't they? The magnificent sort of Gilly to Greaves, Kane to Son.
That is the glance, wasn't it? It just made it amazing.
The look and the glance header and the run through and the finish. But even the first goal, when we weren't playing great, was a second ball, wasn't it, that came back to us. So I think there's a bit of a clue there that we mustn't overdo the short goal kicks out to players. And on a certain day when we don't look right, this is what I'd like to get onto. Everyone comes out after the game and say we lacked tempo and we lack this and we lack that. But tempo is the normal word used. And the television, for instance, say Conte will sort this out at halftime. Well, my view is, why does it have to be sorted out at halftime? If there's 20 minutes to go before halftime, that's 20 minutes wasted. So I think there's 2 players that should be responsible for making sure that we've got the right tempo about us. One is the goalkeeper, for 2 reasons. 1, because he's the keeper, and 2, because he's the captain. I think so many things end up with the goalkeeper in play. He saves it, he gets the ball back to him, he then feeds it. He should be, I'm not talking about Lloris particularly, but it's Lloris in this situation. He can add tempo to the situation. For instance, you see the amount of times goalkeepers take the tempo out of the game. When the dope at Everton, playing at Liverpool, kept diving on the floor. Okay, that's going to the opposite to what I'm talking about. I'm saying that we should add to the tempo via that means.
How funny was Alisson at the end there with his little?
That was great. And I think that looked childish on behalf of that goalkeeper. Childish. It was immature, and it was. If people, again, back on an old theme, but if people want to tell me that's game management and that's clever, can you imagine Bill Nicholson telling Pat Jennings to dive on the floor? Pat Jennings would be picking it up and aiming the ball to Cyril Knowles, whose first touch of the ball would be over the halfway line. Do you know what I mean? And and the other one I think should add to a tempo is, and because his position is middle of a back 3, is Eric Dyer, and because he's the middle of the back three, a lot of things go back to him to then start again.
Yep.
And that position can add tempo to it. So I don't think there's a case for, well, let's leave it to the manager to sort it out at half time. You know, if we start out tempo of, say, a disappointing 5 out of 10, I don't see any reason why we can't get to a 7 off our own back.
Yeah.
We've got an experienced team after all. The goalkeeper's won a World Cup. And he's captain. And Dyer, Eric, has been an international footballer who can play and has lived in the midfield sort of jungle. So of course he can add tempo to it. So even if they just take it from a 5 to a 7 and leave it to Conte at half time to push it up to 8 or 9 of the expected level. So yeah, that's my little grumble at the minute. I'm sure Conte knows what he's doing. I'm absolutely sure. And but I just want some of the players actually on the pitch to take a bit of responsibility, as they take responsibility for other things, of defending correctly or getting out in the right manner. Part of that's got to be the tempo one. So yeah. And then of course that disappointment was followed up by Brentford. And how good was Eriksen? How good? Exactly what we need, Howard. Yeah.
Yep.
Tell us why. What does he do that we haven't got?
He's the missing link between midfield and the forwards. He's
He can find a player. He can find a player that's being marked.
Yeah.
And Mabsy said it today that when he first came, I think he finished his first season top goal scorer with Archie.
Right.
I need to check that, but that's what Mabsy said. I'm not suggesting he was lying about that. And the reason was because he runs into the box and Glenn Hoddle kept finding him.
Yeah.
And we have the same thoughts about Eriksen, don't we? If you make the right run, he'll find you.
Yep.
And it seems as though from midfield, we're good at finding space when we're being attacked. And then we win it, and then we've got like half a field to pass the ball in, but we're not great at the smaller distances at finding people. So
Eriksen also has that ability to just like smash in a goal at the end as well. Like, do you remember the first few games at the new stadium? We played Brighton, and we really struggled against Brighton in exactly the same way as we struggled against them the other day. And and Eriksen picked up the ball in the last few minutes and smashed the ball in, and we won 1-0 at the very end. And we don't necessarily have that in the midfield at the moment in terms of that ability in the central central midfield that Eriksen used to provide. At the same time, I almost wonder, like, you know, when he went to Inter, Conte didn't necessarily have a place for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure they got on, actually.
They didn't, by the sound of it.
I don't know that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but
some vibes went on somewhere.
But you know, Conte doesn't necessarily have this kind of like number 10 player in his system
mentality, no.
But Eriksen earned that place in the Inter team in his second season and ended up becoming part of that winning, title winning team.
The other thing with him is the commentators always talk about him being a great dead ball kicker, and I don't think he is. His number of goals he scores from direct free kicks or other dead balls is quite low.
Yeah. But what he has got is a delivery on a corner kick.
Yeah.
Which he proved 3 times in the first half against us, didn't he? That went direct to the far post.
Yeah.
And I think with his knowledge of Harry Kane takes the sort of the near post area. And any club doing their homework should miss Harry Kane out, because I think he's our best header of the ball defensively. And Ericsson knows that. So 3 things went to the far post for a free header back across. And then I have another sort of little thought about if Harry's missed out over his head, what's his next movement? He can't just stand where he happened to be when the first corner came in. That's not necessarily now the right position. I think he should make his way back to the line. And when I was thinking this, he eventually cleared one, not quite off the line, but definitely a more defensive position. So just something I noticed, but yeah, and we've had lots of anniversary type birthday things going on. Kulu, 22 years of age. 22, wow. I was saying to Mabsy today about him, and Mabsy thinks that he's got a bit of Tony Galvin in him in terms of not being that easy on the eye, but produces.
Productive.
Yeah, he produces. And I was thinking, and you've maybe got the answer. What I like the Swedish mentality. They're a bit boring, the national team, but I like the fact I believe they can get a draw against anyone at international level because of mentality. Who was the last Swedish player that we had in our squad?
Eric Edman.
Yes, Howard. Well done. What do you remember of him?
I think he was a very solid player. But the thing, probably the last game he played was up at Anfield, and he smashed in a ball from 35 yards.
Wow. At Anfield?
At Anfield.
Yeah, I must have been out of the country on that one because I can't remember it, but I should remember it for such a goal.
I'm going to send you a link to it right after this, Steve, because it's
Please.
just such a wonderful goal. It was like literally like near the halfway line, wasn't it, Howard? He just picked it up and smashed it. And
what was the score of that game?
It was 2-2.
Oh, we lost.
No, it was 2-2.
You're quite right. Yeah, it was a draw.
Yeah,
wow.
No, we were. I think Robbie Keane scored a goal as well. We took the lead twice, and they cut us back. Hippier scored a really good goal in that game as well.
Did he?
Yeah, it was an absolutely ridiculous strike. So yeah, one way you're just like, what are you doing? Oh my goodness! Yeah,
I think Glenn did it finally in the season else as well. Glenn scored with a long shot.
Yeah,
he did. That's right. And where did he go after Eric?
He went to Wigan, and he unfortunately had his final ever game. His final game at White Hart Lane was actually in the Wigan team that lost 9-1 to us when Jermaine Defoe decided to go and score 5 goals. But yeah, he was left back in that team that day, so he didn't really get a very positive send off, unfortunately. But
that must hurt when you revisit one of your old teams.
Definitely
to suffer that beating. So yeah, I want to pay credit to Exeter City for their promotion. So well done to Matt Taylor and his staff. Matt Taylor's the manager, and Julian Tagg, who's a particular friend of mine and partner in crime when myself, him and Tiz were sort of leading the charge. They've secured the promotion from the second division to the first. And so well done to all my friends that are still there. Really pleased for your success. Now see if you can go and win the league outright, because they're now level points with, I think, Forest Green. So very, very well done to them. There's a couple of things about ex-staff, or John Fennelly, for instance, who I sometimes call John Felony, much to his displeasure. And but he's going to retire at the end of the season. So good luck to you, John, and thank you for all your efforts. I particularly enjoyed working with him. he was the press officer when I think there was just one press officer and a sort of a girl assistant. And I think now there's a staff of about 13 or 14 in that department, which tells you about how the game's going. But yeah, and I think he's ended up working part-time there as the historian.
Yeah.
So well done, John. Again, enjoyed working with you, and Kim sends you her regards as well. And Kim's knowledge of another staff was Peter Barnes. She was assistant secretary to Peter when he was the secretary of the club, and he had a funeral, passed away, unfortunately. It was a very classy funeral, I'm told, in Chingford. We couldn't go because of other things, but so well attended. And yeah, Peter was a good man and had his fingers in a lot of pies. I'm talking of, not in business, of different sports. I think he was secretary of the local cricket club, and first time I come across him, he was secretary of Orient. So, but another good man. And the first job he had at Tottenham was assistant secretary to Peter Day. So that happened to be in a good spell for us as a club, and some trophies and stuff. So yeah. This week was the sort of anniversary of the great Jimmy Greaves being sent off in the semi-final, the Cup Winners' Cup, first leg, thankfully, so he could play in the final. Can you imagine Jimmy Greaves getting sent off for kicking someone? I suppose it must have been retaliation. An anniversary of Mickey Hazard scoring the winning goal against Hajduk Split. I've read about birthdays today. Martin Chivers, I think, was yesterday. And the great John White was born, I think it was today, many years ago. So what a player he was. Not that I witnessed it. Did you, Howard? Did you see him play?
I saw a couple of games that he played, but I was too young to understand how special he was.
Yeah. And tragically died on the golf course, didn't he?
Playing with Cliff Jones.
Cliff Jones at Cruise Hill, I think. I think there's a bit of a memorial there for him.
Yeah. There's a lovely book written by Julie Welsh and John's son Rob, called The Ghost.
The Ghost.
Yes.
And I've read it.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Rob's a lovely guy. He's
I think Rob's involved in the Tottenham Trust, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Brilliant. So I'm gonna be with the Tottenham Trust in sometime in the future. I should know the date, but I don't, because there's too many dates swirling around in my head.
You're joining them for the Antwerp barbecue.
Antwerp barbecue, that's right.
Antwerp Arms at the end of May.
They've tried to secure me many times. I think I've been a bit too expensive for them in the past, but they've managed to get me down to petrol money, which is great. So be a pleasure to meet up with them all and give them some of my thoughts about the club and how it is and the respect level and all of that stuff. So Ozzy is, when I mentioned the luncheon that I went to today, I got the feeling that I was a reserve for Ozzy. Obviously, Ozzy's recovering from this heart thing. So no bad thing to be a reserve for a World Cup winner. More than honoured to have filled in for him. But Ozzy is, all the medical opinion of him is he's doing great. Ozzy's feeling better than ever. Had his best day yesterday, and even today he was feeling better than that. And has just been warned, don't overdo it.
Yeah.
And also stay clear of COVID, which means don't get too involved with outsiders visiting you and stuff like that. So all good news. Yeah. So thank you very much for your attendance again, chaps. Been interesting to listen to you. I've got the feeling I've been talking too much, but there you go. It's sort of out of tiredness because I am tired. I was up early and it's been such a long day. But yeah, thanks for your involvement as ever. And let's see how we can get on against those Leicester boys on Sunday. And then, of course, the Arsenal play West Ham after.
Yeah.
Any predictions there or influences to those games, you think?
I'm thinking we're going to turn it on against Leicester. I think I think 3-1, and then West Ham Arsenal. I think West Ham will maybe raise their game. Hopefully, because I mean we know Chelsea rolled over for them the other day, and but Man United should have got a result against Arsenal. I think Arsenal's
everything went Arsenal's way, didn't it?
It did, and
I didn't see it.
It did. Everything went their way, and I think that that's going to run out this weekend. And in our next podcast, we'll be saying, "Damn it, didn't happen."
You're going on Sunday, Howard?
Yep, absolutely.
Good.
Terry, who you know, is coming to visit us with her sister.
Brilliant. Oh, so you got an interesting weekend there. So Viv, we'll find out if Viv's the lucky charm or not.
See, what's your
She didn't go to Brentford, but she did go to Brighton.
Yeah.
See, what's your dinner on Sunday with the aortic?
Oh yeah, so I'm going to Wimbledon Theatre. Yeah, I'm going to Wimbledon Theatre. I'm going to meet up with all the people who are now going to be my colleagues as a a patient ambassador for the Aortic Dissection Charitable Trust. And on Sunday, Whispering Bob Harris, who's also a patient ambassador, he's doing a gig with Danny Baker, who's got football connections, hasn't he? Was he a Millwall man, Danny Baker?
Yep.
But very funny when I've heard him. He was the one who comes up with I think I did an interview there once, maybe 5 Live or Radio 5. And he asked questions like, Steve, if you're having a bacon sandwich on a Sunday morning, red or brown sauce? It's different. Never been asked that before. And of course, it's brown sauce. Of course. Who has anything different to that? But his other one was, if you come out of your house to post a letter, do you turn left or right?
Vital stuff. Everyone needs to understand.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm really looking forward. We're gonna eat first in somewhere in Wimbledon, and then meet up with Catherine and her colleagues. So I'm more than anxious to meet them and see how I can help in the future. So yeah, listen to this space for more information about this particular ambassadorial role for Mr. Perryman. Great. Thanks for your up the Spurs, and let's go and get a result. And give my regards to your 2 families, please.
And to yours. See you soon.
Come on, you Spurs!